Welcome to Midwest Paranormal Presents Paranormal Soup. I'm your host, Jason Bland, and tonight we have Connie Willis from Coast to Coast AM, and she's starting a new show on YouTube called Blue Rock Talk. We're going to talk about that tonight and all of her paranormal journeys that she's been taking over her long career in broadcasting. Of course, we're going to have open lines again, too, on the Skype line. Remember, that's OOJBLANDOO. You can call in on Skype later in the show to ask Connie questions, usually towards the last 30, 20 minutes of the show. You can call in and ask. This is your night to talk to Connie. If you haven't been able to check her out on Coast to Coast, definitely do. She had Steve Huff on last night. A lot of fans on this show that watch him. It was a great episode. You definitely should check that out. And, guys, we'll be with you in just one sec. All right, welcome to another night of Paranormal Soup. I'm your host, Jason Bland, and like I said, tonight we have Connie Willis. Connie is a guest host of Coast to Coast AM, has been in the broadcast radio, TV, and film industry for over 20 years. You may have seen her reporting or hosting or anchoring on ESPN, Speed, UPN, Disney, TNN, Oxygen, HSN, QVC, Avene Live, or pitching products on many infomercials worldwide. You may have heard of her on the airwaves in Louisville, Lexington, Philadelphia, San Antonio, Tampa, St. Pete, Orlando, with a bachelor's in broadcast journalism focusing on film, performance, and psychology from the University of Kentucky. She has a unique style of interview. Being dubbed a conversationalist, she generally enjoys discussing topics that contribute to the conversations of those she interviews. Connie is a serious student of high strangeness. I love that. This is from the Coast to Coast AM site for her. Having her own experiences since the early age of 3, these experiences left her with a strong desire to find the truth of those phenomena. As a woman, her perspective is much more emotional as it is factual, which goes hand in hand. She has interviewed many people in her life and is best known for going into the field of research and experience for herself. Connie enjoys digging deep into mysteries surrounding the inexplicable effects and synchronicity of events related to UFO and extraterrestrial encounters, as well as anything outside the range of normal human knowledge or scientific explanation, including time travel, my favorite, cryptozoology, telepathy, Mayan culture, crop circles, the afterlife, ghost, hybrids, radionics, psychic spies, super soldiers, and other historic topics. Man, Connie, you're a woman after my own heart with that bio. I love it. Due to her passion to know the truth, she researched these strange anomalies, attempting to connect the dots and find the answers. Connie is always interested and eager to join exceptional research teams, even coordinate her own off-the-beaten-path special projects. In fact, she's a certified advanced controlled remote viewer. We got to talk about that tonight, Connie, a little bit. Huge interest to me. She's taught under the direction of Lynn Buchanan, one of the military's top psychic spies from the top-secret program Project Stargate. She took classes to see if remote viewing was real, and she now believes. You can, like I said, check her out at Coast to Coast AM, but she is starting a new YouTube channel called Blue Rock Talk. You can find the links in the description below on the YouTube live show you're watching right now. It'll take you right there, too. All right, guys, we're going to, of course, do what I love to do every Sunday night, is the World Wide Web of Weird, so let's go ahead and roll right on into that. Tonight on the World Wide Web of Weird, I got some high strangeness as well. First off, to start on the World Wide Web of Weird, we're going to talk about a couple different NASA things here that have been posting around recently. Both articles come from the Express on Daily website. Could amazing footage of video be proof of secret spacecraft passing the moon or even aliens? Amazing video taken through a telescope has captured a moment of a triangle UFO passing across the lunar surface. This one was a telescope. The other one's going to be NASA, sorry. But still, it all has to do with people catching stuff in space. I love this. The video uploaded to YouTube could be proof of mythological top-secret craft produced by the U.S. Air Force or even aliens, according to excited conspiracy theorists and UFO hunters. The UFO uploaded by YouTube, UFO VNI 2012, was entitled Triangle UFO Top Secret TR-3B Above the Moon and Close Telescope, July 16, 2016. The TR-3B is alleged by conspiracy theorists to be a secret black project spycraft on the U.S. government that can be flown into space. You know, we've showed quite a few things on that on the World Wide Web before. The allegations are that these crafts are created at top-secret military bases like Area 51, Nevada, by reverse engineering alien technology. Let's go ahead and take a look at this one here. You know, you see it flying across the moon there. It does have kind of a triangle shape, which is the TR-3B's description.
Yippee, grainy video.
Of course, it's a telescope, Todd. I knew you were going to make that comment. I knew it. It got even grainier for you, bud.
Well, now we're getting into pixelated. That's a completely different animal.
But it looks really cool. I mean, it could be... I know, what's your thought on this, Todd? Could it be something else they're picking up that's a lot closer? It's not flying above the moon. It could be a bird or something. What's your thoughts on that?
Oh, sure, it could be a plane or anything. I mean, realistically, yeah, even a satellite, I would think.
That's what I was wondering, too, as a satellite. It definitely has that triangle-shaped thing. Anything triangle-like is, of course, going to be TR-3B. You know, that's what everybody's going to go after on that. So, I don't know. It's interesting. Now, this next that's coming up really interests me here in a second.
I want it to be the TR-3B. I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah. All right. Next up.
This one.
Oh, I can't wait to hear what she says. Leaked pictures of NASA's Juno probe seem to show UFO in Jupiter's orbit. Shocking YouTube video, of course, YouTube, claims to reveal leaked footage from the NASA Juno probe showing a mysterious UFO orbiting. So, no, NASA did not release this. I just want to point that out. It's leaked footage. So, is it real? I have some doubts, and I'll give you some reasons why. I'm sure Todd will chime in here, too. One of mine is perspective, and maybe Todd, you can help me out on this, or I might be way off, but we'll talk about it in a second. The viral video, which has been watched more than 116,000 times, I'm sure way more since this article, was allegedly filmed by the NASA probe as it entered the gas giant orbit this month. An article published alongside the video claimed first picture captured by Juno revealed a mysterious UFO hovering over the giant red spot during a few minutes before leaving in deep space. February 2016, an enormous alien structure was seen moving in the direction of Jupiter's moon Europa, which, according to some UFO hunters, resembles an interstellar mothership or an intergalactic cruiser. I covered that before on the World Wide Web. Weird. This is odd, but I have my doubts, so here we go.
The problem is, I think this one already, they already busted. It was a French CGI artist that was tagged to this one.
That's what I'm going after, too. I believe it's CGI. That's what I was going to go for.
Because the videos I saw of it actually were full 1080 and beautiful clarity, and it's like, well,
Yeah, it just doesn't seem likely from NASA. I mean, it looks amazing, but it looks too amazing. Am I off base on that? But that's what I think about it. It looks like it's computer generated.
Yeah, well, again, I really want it to be real.
Well, yeah. But this has gone viral, so, you know, just because it's, you know, I think it's fake, I'm still going to show it because, you know, we don't know. Maybe we're wrong, but I don't think I am on this one.
The reason I had to say this one is because I shared it earlier this week and I got shredded fast. I was getting links that hurled at me saying, well, the aura it's showing right now, people are like, look at that, you know that's fake.
Another good fake one. This one I'm really going to call shenanigans on. Is mysterious huge-eyed skull believed to belong to an alien. I don't know how many of these I've had on the World Wide Web weird now. Mysterious skull with huge eye sockets and fanged teeth that has left scientists flummoxed may have belonged to an alien, it is claimed. The strange skeleton head, described as a 50 50% bigger than a standard-sized version was found by Danish contractors replacing old sewage pipe on Sealand Island. The workers were digging out 100-year-old pipes when they found the skull under a building that once belonged to a butcher, it is alleged. Experts at the veterinary college in Copenhagen, who examined the find, concluded, although resembling a mammal, certain features make it impossible to fit animals into the Linnean taxonomy. I don't know what that is. Science could not link to any known species on Earth. Subsequent carbon dating, which I call shenanigans on, dating of the skull at the University of Copenhagen, Niels Bohr Institute of Scientists, determined it was 800 years old, which only added to the mystery as it was found within the pipes of a century-old building. The skull was found in 2007, but was not looked at by science until 2010. Further excavation of the area found only animal bones, stone axes, and equipment from the Neolithic period. Nothing else could be linked to the skull. To me, it looks fake.
It's just part of the cast of Sailor Moon.
Well, my research on this is that they make this article. This one came, again, this one was from the Daily Express, or the Express Daily. There's a lot of these shenanigan articles on there. There's no evidence that they ever test this at the Copenhagen Institute. People have been researching, so where's that finding? They've not come out and said anything. This would be extraordinary if they found something that said it was carbon dated and this was real. But the lines around it just looks fake.
It's far too clean around the gates of the eye.
Exactly what I thought when I saw it. Exactly. So yeah, I call shenanigans on that one for sure. All right. The next one, more shenanigans probably. There's a lot of shenanigans on tonight's World Wide Web.
Hey, I sent you shenanigans last week, so.
Yeah, I know. I posted some. All right. Here we go. Let me get this. Well, it'll get to it here in a second. I got my article coming up. But this next one, I don't know. This one comes from Coast to Coast AM's website, and it's, of course, been on a number of other articles, but I pulled it from Coast to Coast. It's coming up here in just a second, sorry.
That's it. Make the guest mad before she's even said a word. Good.
Oh, I can't believe it.
Oh, why is this? There we go.
Ricardo, these creatures.
All right, here we got another one. A group of paranormal researchers are attempting to determine the nature and origins of a strange winged creature discovered in Mexico. The tiny oddity boasts what appears to be a humanoid body along with a set of wings, causing some to suggest that it could be a fairy or an alien. Breen Foster says that he spotted the bizarre creature floating in a specimen jar at an office in Mexico back in January. Since then, has allegedly been subjected to X-ray analysis, which showed that it contained an actual skeleton. In the video, which unveiled the creature, author L.A. Marzulli speaks with a man who appears to be the scientist that conducted the test. They concluded that the oddity could not be a hoax because the X-ray scan would have revealed that if it were a doll or something fabricated. And that's what it does look like. It's something real. And if they did an X-ray, cool. That that would show that it maybe not something fake. Maybe, but. I still have my doubts on this one. In light of the bone structure found inside the creature, researchers hope to analyze the DNA from it to learn more about what it might be. Despite the fantastic nature of the creature, it would be best to exercise caution before leaping to paranormal conclusions, since a number of previous alien bodies have been disproven in the past. Yeah, even Coast to Coast calls this one out, but here's the video.
Are very, very strange.
It's a hybrid, and that's something very important. Because I believe they are experiments. What kind of experiments? Why? I don't know. But we have a physical body, and we can analyze that physical body and prove that an intelligence is behind
the length
this experiment.
Feet.
Okay.
But this creature have another.
Well, looking at that, I sure wouldn't say fairy. If I was going to put that on anything, I'd say imp. That'd be demonic.
An intelligence
the length
this experiment.
Feet.
Okay.
But this creature have another. The wings. We have an X-ray of this
You
creature.
have an X-ray of it.
Yes, we have an
What did
X-ray.
the X-ray show?
And we can see the structure of the bones related with the structure.
So this is not a hoax.
No.
It is not a hoax.
Not a hoax.
Because an X-ray would show that it was a puppet or a mold.
All right, one last thing on the World Wide Web of Weird, and this goes on the ghost front. This is also posted on Coast to Coast AM. A homeowner in the UK was stunned when his security camera seemed to capture footage of a ghost lingering in the road near his property. In the chilling footage of what seems somewhat transparent anonymous figure, I'm going to go ahead and play it now, appears to be walking back and forth on the road. I was so shocked when I saw it, I couldn't believe what I was seeing, Ian Hawke told the website News Shopper. He speculated the anomaly captured in the footage was the ghost of a child playing in the road or possibly a confused spirit. While the footage surprised him, Hawke revealed that his own home actually has a history of haunted activity. I have spirits in my house. My friends have filmed them in here in the past, he said, expressing a degree of wisdom that can only come from someone who lives in a haunted house. Hawke mused that I'm not afraid of them. It's the living that hurt you, not the spirits. I say that all the time. And that's it for the World Wide Web of Weird. Let me get back to this here.
The lone applause.
Oh, there was wild cheering here, but I had the mic off, so.
Oh, okay.
For the World Wide Web of Weird, that's a first. People are applauding at home, I hope, maybe. I don't know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and like somebody said in the chat room, no X-ray. Yeah, show us the X-ray.
That's what I said. Let's show me
Actually, if you watch the documentary, you'll see the X-ray.
Oh, now see, Jason shorted us.
I shorted you. But it wasn't in that video I found.
Yeah, probably not, because I think you have to. I think you have to pay for the documentary.
Yeah.
I actually saw it a couple weeks ago because I was hanging out with someone that's a friend of the LA guy, and he had the password to the film, so we sat and watched it. So I did actually see that, and I saw the X-ray, and it looks real. I don't know what it is, but the X-ray is unbelievable.
Well, they got an X-ray. That's some pretty convincing evidence. But I remember the whole. Did you see what was that? Stephen Greer, the whole what was his documentary? I can't remember. Sirius or something.
Oh yeah, he had that little thing too, right?
Came out and said that was a baby fetus had been manipulated, all kinds of stuff. But they're like, oh, the X-ray shows it's real bones. They're like, it is real. It is a creature, but it wasn't an alien creature. And I'm like, I don't know what to believe. Yeah. I believe in these things can exist. I definitely do. And obviously you do.
Yep. And I have no idea either. I mean, I got to leave it to the experts or somebody else. But it's fun.
But my argument for years is all those myths came from somewhere. The fairies, imps, whatever, vampires. It's been in oral tradition and history for pretty much the dawn of mankind. So.
Yep.
Multiple cultures, with the same kind of mythologies and, dragons, fairies, imps, that kind of thing. All right, but I want to get to you, Connie. We're getting out of the World Wide Web of Weird, so we can get into talk about that. But first thing I want to ask you, Connie, is how did you, you have a long career in broadcasting. How did you get into the paranormal? I know I read a little bit of, I read your bio on that, but I want to know what got you in this direction. I always say there's something that kind of pushes people towards it, usually. But there's usually an answer.
You're right about that. There's always something that pushes somebody into it. And if somebody, because of that thought, if you ever meet someone that's interested in something and they have never seen anything, they have to be, not telling you the truth. Maybe they don't want to disclose it yet, because there's no other reason to get into any of this unless you've seen something or experienced anything, because you're just, a flat-out nut. That's just the way it is. That's how the world perceives you. And even though I think we're ahead of the curve on it, those other people out there that have no clue, they don't understand that. But I grew up in a haunted house. In fact, the house that I'm in now, that I take care of my mom, it was haunted. It's no longer that way. So I don't know what happened. I moved away for a couple decades and came back, and there's nothing going on now that I've noticed. But as a kid, every freaking single night, I was scared out of my mind. I just, I was cuddled up under the covers and the blankets, and it didn't matter how hot it was. I had to hide my body from what might be lurking around. And you would feel it around you, but you didn't see it, and you'd feel it downstairs in the basement. And as a kid, I would run up those steps. I was in great shape. I'd run up those steps as far as as fast as possible. And it does. One of the things it does is you know, if you're in something every day, you know, where people will go to a haunted place and check it out on the weekends, or, you know, a couple times a week or a month or something like that as a outing, something fun to do with their friends. However, if you have it every night, you really develop a, you know, become very sensitive to where these things are, because, you know, as a kid, it was a matter of life and death. I grew very sensitive because I wanted to know where that was so I could be as far away as possible from it.
You know, and I always say when you're a kid, the worst time is like when you had to get up and go to the bathroom. You know what I'm saying? It's like you're just like, okay, I'm gonna do it, and you have to run. And they've done this in a couple movies I know, where the poor kid's got to run to the bathroom, and then the ghost, that's when they see something. It's like, why wouldn't you have to go to the bathroom? But I had those same experiences as a kid, and that's why I got into the paranormal.
Yeah, you know what? I have forgotten about that. You're right. Every time that happened, it was so scary because you're already in the bed. At least you were in the bed. You couldn't wait till morning, or to fall asleep, you know, out of exhaustion. But yeah, when you had to go to the bathroom, you're exactly right. It was like, oh no, I'll just hold it. But you know, you just can't at one point, and you got to go, and you're glad you did. You're a very courageous kid, but it was, yeah, you're right. You're right.
That's the worst. That's the worst for a kid. Is like they're like holding it, like I can't hold it anymore. And then like I remember in Sightings, that's where, you know, the poor kid finally goes to the bathroom. You see him like creeping around and looking, and sure enough, when he goes to the bathroom, that's when all the crap goes down. And I had that same experience as a kid. That movie like kind of touched me in that spot, because that's my childhood. That's exactly what happened to me.
That's exactly right. And then I would run and jump into the bed because I didn't want whatever might be under it to grab my foot as I went in and took that flying leap.
Oh yeah. And you said now, so nothing happens in your house now that you came back. That seems to be, you know, houses go through phases sometimes, you know, or it was just that you had the perception as a child. It could still be there. You're just not maybe perceiving it.
I know, I did think that. I thought maybe I've lost that perception, but I don't think so. I hope not. I hope it's not just, you know, hovering over me all night and just.
But houses go through waves. You might see it again there. You know, I swear these things can go quiet for years in a house and then suddenly come back. And then your dog goes nuts. He's like, yeah, there's something now.
Well, you know, and that scared me to death when my dog did that.
Sorry.
Golly. Also, well, when my dad passed away, you know, I wasn't living here, but, you know, I've come back recently to help my mom, and that's when I noticed that it's not happening. And I kind of wonder, now I don't know at all if this is the case, but I wonder if it could have been my dad's mom who had died when he was younger.
Oh.
And maybe she was in the house and, you know, hanging out with my dad until he passed, and now, you know, he said, hey, quit scaring the kids. I don't know. But
maybe Dad chased away whatever was hanging out.
That's what I was going to say.
Maybe Dad did that too. That's what I've thought along the way. Yep. Yeah.
So you know, how did you get into the broadcasting? Is this something you've always kind of felt like was a path for you to, you know, be in TV and radio, or?
Absolutely. It was one of my first thoughts, probably. I always knew what I wanted to be. Always knew it was going to be in TV, film. You know, I never really thought radio as a kid, but I always thought in front of cameras. And I don't know why. I just always thought that. And it was difficult along the way because growing up, you know, especially in Louisville, Kentucky, it was like, well, you know, how are you going to get into film? Because I always thought it was going to be Hollywood, film, cameras. I didn't know the distinction of it yet, but it would, you know, everybody would kid me because I wanted to be a movie star. You know, that's how they nicknamed me movie star and stuff growing up. And I don't know that it was. I thought as a kid it was silver screen. However, you know, I don't know. It never worked well with me acting. I'm not a good actor.
Me neither.
Sometimes I can do it, but you know, you got to catch me at the right time with the right light. But I can be myself very well, and so that worked out well. And I never again ever thought radio, and so it was cool that radio worked out. It's always live. You can be yourself. TV, you know, the TV that I've done has all been live, sports, QVCs and HSNs. So it's all worked out that way. But yeah, I've always known what I wanted to do. And it was funny, on one of my birthdays, I went to a psychic in an area, this is when I was living in Florida, and it's Casadega, which is right outside of Orlando. Mm-hmm. Really cool place if you guys ever get a chance to go. Casa Deg, it's a little city that all it is are psychics, and you have to pass courses. You actually have to show and pass tests that you're as good as you can be. And if you're not as good as the rest of them, you can't live in that little community. You have to live outside of it. So it's really cool. It's the best of the best. They hang out with each other all the time and learn even more from each other. But this guy, it was years later that I went to see this guy, and he said, and by the way, you were doing what you did in a prior life, and that's why you've always known what you've wanted to do. It wasn't even a question I asked him. It was a question I always had inside of me. I didn't even throw it out to the guy, and he threw it right back at me as if I did, and that's when I knew, wow, I think he's right. That's when I finally had clarity of that if we do have other lives, prior lives, then I'd done it before. And he said, you're real natural at it. That's why it feels comfortable to you, because you've done it before. So, and he said something like, I saw lights and you on stages and things like that. So that was pretty cool. I thought that was neat.
Be cool to find out, like, have you ever thought about doing past life regression to find out what that past life was?
No, I haven't done that. And I guess I've had some opportunities of doing that. I don't know. Maybe I'm not that concerned about it. I don't want to. Who knows what you could be?
Well, it could be scary too, to find out what it was in the past. That's what I've always thought about it. So, I went to Ybor City in Florida. There too had like a nice little psychic area, and I went to a reading there. He told me I was going to have 3 kids. I have 2. I hope he's wrong. I was going to stick with the 2, but
oh wow!
But they had a lot of psychic stuff down in Ybor City. But yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out next time I'm in Florida.
Yeah, that's a creepy little area. Yeah, that's they also sell stogies there. That's a big cigar place.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
Yep.
So doing the broadcasting, I'm sure you being interested in the paranormal, you probably jumped at the opportunity when it was given to you to be a guest host on Coast to Coast AM. How did that all come about?
That let's see. I was in radio for like 15 years, and it was music radio. And then again, that wasn't my thing. I didn't want to do radio. That was never on my list. It was film, TV, and then, there was just 2 things I wanted to do. I didn't, but radio fits right in there next. And when I was at the University of Kentucky, I had taken a performance class, and it was teaching how to, lose the accent and what to do in front of the camera and any mic whatsoever. And I remember the guy, he was a big radio guy, and he talked about radio all the time, and I was like, oh, please tell me, I want to learn TV, teach me TV. I've only got so many classes here at the University of Kentucky. It's not like I'm in Southern California or anything, That's where I wanted to go, but that's like triple out-of-state costs to go there. So,
oh, yeah.
So I'm like, come on, dude, give me some TV stuff. And he said to me, he said, this radio stuff, it's the best grounding for you. It's the best basis for any of these things that you do. And, I just listened, let it go in one ear and out the other. And he was absolutely correct, because if you can do radio shows live, and you can just talk and talk, and you fumble, and you get all those things out of your way as you learn, because it's very scary at first to do anything like that. But if you know how to trip over yourself and keep going and not go, oh, and get, all giddy, weird, whatever.
I trip over myself all the time, so
that's okay. It's all right. And people are fine with that, because that's what they do. So, once you get all that out of your way and out of your system, a camera is easy and great. In fact, they love you because one of my nicknames is a one-take Willis. So, time is money, right? So right. They love it on camera if you can do a one-take. So I did 15 years of music radio, and during that time I was doing some TV work. That's when I started going and doing ESPN and Speed Vision, and it was Speed Vision at the time, and a whole bunch of other things, and working on my own stuff. And it wasn't until years later that I did so much TV work that I found myself doing TV for everybody else. I was selling a product on QVC or HSN or an infomercial, or doing sports and talking about somebody else in their race car or somebody's boat or whatever it was. It wasn't me. It wasn't anything
right.
I was extremely passionate about. products are cool if you get some good ones, but it wasn't my heart and soul. And I thought, how cool to take my passion and marry that with, my other passion, because my passion is doing TV and radio. It's a blast. It's what I enjoy doing. I can do a marathon of it. It's fun. But subject-wise, I was like, well, passion for the paranormal. So I started looking into that, and that's where one of my agents, or many of my agents, had said, don't get into that world. I was like, why not? He said, you will never get out of it. People will think you're a nut. You'll never sell another item on QVC. You'll never sell anything on HSN again. You just won't do it. Everybody's going to think you're a nut, and they're not going to believe that you're credible. And my words were, well, I think I'm even more credible because I'm being honest about my passion. I'm talking about things that I've seen myself. These things are real. So how much more honest can you get? But, people don't see it that way, do they? Not at all. They don't think any of this is real. But so that's that's how I kind of lean toward the paranormal. And I met I guess he was a pretty big wig in the paranormal TV world, and I met him out at Roswell at one of the big anniversaries out there that they had that they have annually. And I met him, and I just went for it and said, hey, look, I do a lot of TV and radio, and I hadn't done radio in a long time. I said, hey, I want to get into this world. So, how do I get in touch with you? How do you know how to find me? And I went from there, and yeah, I got a lot of grief about that. It's not easy at all to get into a paranormal TV show in the first place, right? Because they come and go. They don't work out well. They're not honest. We people we're the audience of paranormal TV. We're the ones that watch it. And if it's not right, we don't watch it because we're there to learn and get into it and relate to it. And if it's, like a lot of people don't like mountain monsters. Now, I like it. It's fun. I know it's entertainment. I'm in the TV world. It's entertainment, and it's a blast to watch. It's funny. However,
but I have trouble watching it because I just go, you gotta be kidding.
I know, because people, but it's a top show. It makes a lot. It does very well. But people that don't know what we know, they love it. They absolutely love it. They do get a piece of what's going on out there. They're not too bad until the end, when all of a sudden they always see Bigfoot and they always can catch it, or
and they're getting attacked.
I know it. It's a great show. But because of that, at one point, I thought, you know what, I'm gonna do radio. I'm gonna go back to kind of my roots. And it was funny to say that after really saying how much I hated radio. But I did. I missed it. Radio is cool. You can, you're your own producer, writer, director. You do it all. And in TV, you're kind of just a talking head. So I missed that, and I put the two together, and I actually put a show together and a demo reel, and I started taking it around to the syndicates. And, Coast is the best of the best.
Right.
And how do you take a show and go against Coast? And I found out that you can't do that. And I never knew that Coast would hire anybody. I never knew that they would were looking for anybody ever in the first place, or anything like that. So I remember somebody telling me, take your stuff to Coast, and I was like, well, they've got George. They don't need me. They don't need me. So I was taking it around, and every time I took it around, they'd say, well, why do we need you? We've got Coast. This is what the syndicates were saying. You can't go up against Coast. And, that's absolutely true. So anyway, at one point, I just said, I'm going to send this to Coast. And within 30 minutes,
wow,
probably less than that, they wrote me back and said, we want to talk with you tomorrow. It was like it was meant to be. I thought, man, I've been doing this for years. Why didn't I send it to you guys first? Why didn't I listen? But it was that quick. And, they want to find a home for my other show as well. Hopefully, we'll see if that happens in the future.
The Blue Rock Talk?
Easy,
Are you talking about the Blue Rock Talk that you're starting?
Well, actually, the show I put together was actually called High Strangeness Radio.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
That was the original show. But since then, there's a lot of other people that use the High Strangeness name all the time. And just recently I put together that Blue Rock Talk name. And so yeah, so if something happens, hopefully we'll be going with that one, because I'm going to go with that one either way while I wait, because it's just a hard, it's just a waiting game. You know, someone has to leave their position, or something drastic has to happen along the way, because pretty much all the paranormal spots are filled up in broadcasting, and just like you, it's all over the internet too.
Oh yeah, yeah. You got plenty of us amateurs out here streaming along, but
But how cool is that?
yeah, and that's the new age that we're running into. Anybody can go out and stream and do their thing. It's beautiful that you can do that. You know, that I'm happy that I get this chance to do it, because I only went to college for a year for TV and broadcasting, and I didn't get to finish. So and I don't know if I could have done all the hard work you did to get to where you're at. I don't know if I could have done QVC. You know, I started doing this just last year because I have a passion for the paranormal. I've been an investigator, and being a musician and doing film and TV, classes that I've had, I was like, I should put all that together on my knowledge of audio and film and just do a live stream. Why not?
Yes.
Now I'm hooked.
Yes, yeah, it's in your blood too. It'll never go away.
Yeah, I don't think it will. Tell my wife that. She might not. No, she's totally supportive.
Well, I love my TV, of course, as well. I mean, I love it. It's just I don't know what it is, and that's where that psychic comes in and says, you've done this before. That makes total sense. I feel at home. I feel that's where I'm supposed to be. Anything else I do, I just don't, it doesn't satisfy me. But when I do this and then add the other, it's great. So this Blue Rock Talk that I'm putting together, it's great because I can add cameras to it. I can do audio if I want and do a podcast, or I can do, just the audio and no pictures, or I can do the, back and forth like you're doing right now. So, for the audience out there, hey, I'm actually learning from him how to do the live events. So that'll be coming up soon.
Do that. I've helped a number of people. There's some people in the chat room I've helped get it going. I love helping people get it set up, because I don't know, it's like a passion of mine, like just the whole figuring out how to do it all. It took me a couple months to really figure out how I was going to do it. And so, when you put that much energy, you love talking about it, and you love helping people do it.
Jason's ego is going to ride that for 2 weeks.
Thanks, Todd.
That's cool, though, because I'll be asking you a lot of questions.
And I will definitely try to help you. So speaking of Blue Rock Talk, what are you kind of? I know where'd you get the name from for the YouTube channel coming up?
Along the way, do you remember when people were buying up domain names, and they were buying up like McDonald's and things like that, and then they could sell it to McDonald's for millions of dollars? Well, at one point, I kind of learned that it was way after that was all done, but people were still going, hey, you can do this, selling you on it. And I was like, oh, I got to try that. How easy is that? So I started doing, getting domains with cool names on them. And I tried to sell them before. It was like a waste of time. It's just not happening. But but I got into that mode of domain names, and I was just trying to think of some apps. I've got some actually really good names and I got the .coms for some future video games on your phone, some apps.
Oh yeah.
So hopefully, if there's anybody that can do an app out there in the game, let me know. We'll coincide.
There might be some people in the chat room that might be able to help you.
Oh, great!
Great. Might be.
That would be great. I started thinking I want to do some stuff for the iPhone, because I thought, oh, I gotta jump on that, and have little apps for the iPhone. The goal is to get something ahead of its time and hit that mark like we all can with a passive income now with the internet and all these really cool things, and make $1 bazillion and do whatever I want, get any camera folks I want, make any film I want. That's the goal. All right, so you got to jump on those things. But anyway, I was just going through trying to make some apps, and I came up with some names of some URLs, and I thought, what about a new show? If I did another show, what would I do? And I just did about 50 names in my head and put them down, and Blue Rock came out because it's the Earth. Blue Rock to me, the Earth. So it's all of the Earth, and it's talk. So Blue Rock Talk, and it jives,
It seems like I've been, looking at some of the stuff you've been posting on Blue Rock Talk's YouTube channel. Like I said, people, you can find that channel on the description of the video right now. It's there. You can go to it. It'll be on there even after the show ends. It'll always be on there. But it seems like you are definitely going down your passion with it, with the paranormal with it. Totally. And is one of your biggest passions in the paranormal Sasquatching? Because I see you do a lot of stuff with the Bigfoot and Sasquatching.
Yeah, well, when you start your journey, you don't know where it's going to lead, and I know if you just meet me now, that's what you're going to think. It's all about Bigfoot. If you would have met me 5 years ago, it would have been all about hybrids. If you would have met me prior to that, it would have been UFOs and ETs. If you would have met me before that, remote viewing. If you met me before that, ghosts. Well, remote viewings with the UFO and ET, it just fits. It's just the way it is. It just all goes together hand in hand.
It does.
For that, ghost and things like that. So, and just paranormal in general. So my thing is to try to learn as much as I can. Just follow whatever the pathway, where it leads me, and see how the dots connect. And there is a lot of dots that connect. So I think it's all, it somehow all connects. And that's why Blue Rock Talk worked, because it's Earth's most interesting conversations.
Oh, yeah.
I can stay interesting, I can hit them all and try to start pulling it together. But the latest stuff that I've started getting into has been the Bigfoot. Something led to me going into that world, and I had an experience the very first time I went out.
Oh,
and
wow.
Because of that, yeah, and I started seeing how it related with all the stuff I learned with ETs. And that was really crazy. So I started going out a little bit more and learning more. And I've got a lot to learn, but I've met a lot of great people, some of the best in the Bigfoot world. I mean, Bob Gimlin.
That's a big one.
Yeah, Ron Moorhead with the Sierra Sounds, Tom Powell, a lot of really great guys. I can go on and on with all their names. And, I'm happy that they've invited me into their world, too, to show me things and to talk about stuff. It's neat because there's a lot to learn in the Bigfoot world, and I also think there's many different ones, and some people believe they're flesh and blood, and other people think they have extraterrestrial, or interdimensional type things.
Yeah.
Yeah, and who knows? To me, it's like all that and more, because I've seen, I don't know what it is. I cannot even begin to tell you, but it does.
I'm up in the air about it too.
What's that?
I'm up in the air about the whole cryptozoology versus straight-on cryptozoology. It's such an interesting topic. I'm not nowhere near an expert or anywhere on that. I don't have Bigfoot Sasquatching land where I'm at here and up in Michigan City, Indiana. I don't think there's really that much Bigfoot stuff going on here. I would totally be in it if I lived in somewhere like Kentucky or somewhere where there was a lot of sightings. I'd be out there Sasquatching.
Well, where are you?
I'm up, if you see the very tip of Lake Michigan, I'm right there. It's Michigan City, Indiana.
And there's no sightings there?
There have been up by the dunes.
They were by the dunes, yeah.
Then go out by the dunes.
Oh, I have.
Oh, okay. Nothing?
No Sasquatch, nothing. Nothing. I've seen some naked people that were very hairy, doing some I didn't want to see. But and that's more than once. But no Sasquatch. No Sasquatch.
And you're talking, real people.
Real people.
Okay, because there's some people that say the Sasquatch that they see, it looks very human.
Oh, yeah.
They don't have all that much hair.
That's just another, like you said, there's a lot of species of Sasquatch.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, you said you had an experience. I love hearing these stories. Can you tell us what your first experience is? You said you had it in your first try, even?
Yeah, it was, golly, it's so funny because when I talk to these people and ask them their stories, they've told them 2,850 billion times, and now I understand. It's funny that I never knew that I was going to tell these stories over and over again, because you think, oh, you tell a story and you move on, but when you get interviewed, that's what you do. Oh, let's see. Now I understand how they feel. It's like, oh, I got to tell that story again. Oh my gosh!
You can't dangle it out in front of me, Connie, without me wanting to hear it.
Copy and paste it from somewhere. No, it's those campers that they go out like this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, they're like folded down, and you drive through it, and then you open it up. I I was actually doing some paranormal, pulling in paranormal content for a internet. It was a paranormal TV and something else. Anyway, they were looking for documentaries, paranormal documentaries. So I was finding content for them, and that's where I ran into the Bigfoot people, and they had invited me out to one of their outings, and I had to talk to a couple people many hours before they allowed me to come to the undisclosed area of Alabama, and it was interesting. When I was there, the very first night, we had driven from Florida to one guy's place to stay the night before, and then from there we drove another 8 hours up to Alabama, and we found our spot where we were going to camp out. And this is my first time, and I hadn't camped since I was a little kid, and I think we did it like once or twice, so I didn't know much about that either, but I've always liked the woods and hiking, so I felt comfortable, at least that part of it. I didn't want to sleep in a tent on the floor with a bunch of spiders and a big hairy creature running around. So, but I was going to be in that camper thing, right? So they cleared out the area and everything, and by the time we got all set up and had a fire and all that kind of stuff, and all kind of met each other and said, hey, time to go to bed. And I was probably one of the last people to fall asleep, but just the way it is, you know, just listening and watching and being a part of everything. But I was on, you know, my side of that camper, and I was laying there, and it was about, gosh, I think maybe 2:45 in the morning, maybe falling asleep for about 45 minutes, and that was it. And you can imagine, absolutely exhausted, no sleep the night before, driving all day, being up all day, meeting people, right? Yeah. And I was interviewing people right and left, by the way, and they're telling me all these Bigfoot stories. And it's really cool because I'm relating it to the ET. I'm like, oh my gosh, where am I? What's going on? This is like ET. So all these revelations. So anyway, I'm exhausted, and about 2:45 or so, I'm laying on my side, and something wakes me up. And through all this sensitivity along my life, I've learned to trust the very first initial thought that ever comes to my mind. You know, what we do as humans, we will take that first thought, and then we'll take another thought and, you know, push it down. Yep. Because we don't want to listen to that first thought. It may tell us to do something we don't want to do. It may say
jabber away. That's why.
Yeah. Or, you know, it may say run, and we're like, no, I'm too tired. I'm not going to, you know, something like that, right? So anyway, something woke me up, and it woke up every cell in my body, absolutely instantaneously. Didn't hurt. It felt good. How would that be in 45 minutes? I'd be going, And so I just wondered, I thought, why did I just wake up? Why does it feel good? I'm noticing that every bit of me is awake. Why does I feel this good? And then, whoosh, there was this push on the camper. Something pushed it. I mean, literally, boom, with purpose, with determination, with effort, push this freaking camper. And I went, whoa, and I didn't move. Something told me not to move, just hang out. And I thought, gosh, am I dreaming this? Did I just wake up from that? Is that why I woke up? You know, you think of everything that it could be.
Right.
You don't think of anything other than that. And then it happened again, and I couldn't believe it because I went, okay, that happened again. Same force, same effort, same determination, same purpose, kind of, you know, that it had a purpose. And when it happened again, I went, is that one of those things? Is that somebody outside pushing this camper? What?
Yeah.
Who would do that? What? You know, we're in the middle of nowhere here. And I thought, okay, well, it came from the same spot, and I was going to turn around to see if it was the person on the other side of the camper, see if they're moving, and maybe it's sensitive enough to move like that, even though, you know, it wouldn't have moved like that. This was purposeful.
Right.
So I thought, I'm going to try to move over that way. Before I could move over that way, it was pushed again, and it was from a different location. And I had said in my head, well, if it moves in a different location, you know, and it did. So then the third one moved from a different location. I didn't hear any noise, there was, you're in
No
the woods.
footsteps or
Nothing. And no twigs broke, no leaves moved, cracked, nothing. It's like, what? That's weird. So I gradually turned over to look at the other guy, and it happened a fourth time, and that guy didn't move at all whatsoever. So 4 times. And at this point, I'm kind of like sitting to where the tent part is right here, and something's on the other side. That's all I know, is something's out there, from that sensitivity, knowing that ambiance around me. And by the way, remote viewing is very good for that. So now this ambiance of what I've grown up, used to having something around me, here it is again. And something said, it let me know that it like pointed to the zipper on the tent, and it was right in front of me, and it let me know there's the zipper, pull it down. And because I would have never thought that. I don't know. This is the first time I've ever been in this camper, and it's been years, So I'm looking at it, and I'm getting that message, and I'm realizing I can unzip this thing and see it. And then I heard this actual mind speak. Sorry, I've been up all night from Coast.
all right.
This actual mind speak said, "Well, this is what you came for."
Oh wow.
Like enticing me. Go ahead, here you go. It was, well, this is what you came for. And I actually answered back as if it was natural, as if it was normal. The most natural thing to do was to hear a telepathy type thing and to answer back in a conversation without thinking like, oh my gosh, I just heard a voice. It wasn't like that at all. I heard, well, that's what you came for. And I went, I know, you're right. And I answered back, but you know what? I know you exist. I know it. I know without a doubt that you're there. I didn't expect it this soon, and I'm not ready. And that's kind of the conversation I had back with it, without even thinking. It's just so natural, so innate, which was amazing. And it kind of like released me in a way and said, it was kind of like, okay. It didn't fight me on it, didn't argue with me on it. The next thing I know, I heard it over in another area where this guy had his table set up and was looking at things and like looking at it, put it back down. That's what it sounded like, that it would lift something up, look at it, and put it back down.
Yeah.
And then I told some of the people the next day, and one of the guys said, you know what, that's a very typical thing for those types of campers to be rocked. And he said, I know you're telling me the truth because I told you hours worth of Bigfoot information. He said, but I never told you that. And you would have needed to know that to have told me that happened. He said, those types of campers, so remember this if you want to go Bigfooting and you have experience, he said those always get rocked. So
I gotta get those kind of campers.
Yes, it's something. I wasn't ready for that look, and I knew I could have seen it. In fact, I kind of wonder if I might have seen 2 actually, but I wasn't ready for that face for the rest of my life. Even though, how great is that? Your first experience, and boom. But a lot of people get upset with me because I didn't do it. But I was scared.
I would be scared. I would be scared. You're out in the middle of the woods and you don't know what's out there, and it's shaking your camper. I can't say I would go outside. As inquisitive and as much as a freak I am about the paranormal and these things, and I want to know, I would be scared on the woods because it's not like a ghost, that usually doesn't physically harm you. I saw the really scary Bigfoot movie once, where the Bigfoot was like out killing people and stuff. Of course, that's the first thing that would go through my mind. So I don't know if I'd open that tent.
It's true. I grew up watching King Kong. I mean, come on, that's a scary thing.
Oh yeah. Definitely.
So this was King Kong to me, I think.
So you think, you're definitely, with that kind of experience, are going more towards like the paracryptozoology, like it had like kind of a psychic connection to you while you were in that camper.
Absolutely.
Like,
I didn't even.
With it.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody had told me that. I interviewed a bunch of people that day, just the people that hung out in the area and telling their stories. And I don't remember anybody telling me anything about mind speak. I don't think at the time, because in the ET world it's telepathy, and the Bigfoot world it's mind speak. See these relations, how they connect. And I don't think anybody told me about that. I think I told them, I heard this, and that's when I started learning. Yep, yep, you know, I never told you that stuff, and that happened to you, and I know it's true because you're telling me it, and I've heard it from many, many, many people. I was just very surprised. You know, these things they do, the beef jerky guys, they got it down because they do joke with you. They do pull pranks all the time.
I love that the beef jerky commercials like that, where usually they're joking on the Bigfoot, which I wouldn't think would be a good idea, and they usually didn't. But yeah, it'd be great. You know, the Bigfoot's kind of messing with you. It seems like from people's reports and stuff, the stories I've read about Bigfoot, that they are very intelligent and just as much as a person is, and there's just almost spiritual like experiences people have with them out there.
Yeah, I know. I did for sure. In fact, before that actual incident happened, earlier in the day, and at the time, though I made a mental note of it, I didn't know for sure, but I know they were close by because, you know, looking back afterwards, then after the experiences, I knew that I had experience before, but I didn't see it. It had said, well, actually, I might have got the message. I'm not sure about this part, that we may be a derivative of them, but I knew without a doubt that they are highly advanced and they're everywhere. There was just this knowing of it, just instantly, and I think it's because they were close by. I don't know what it is, if it opens up something in you, and I don't know if you have to have it. You know, some people have it and some people don't, but something opens up in you, and it's, you know, maybe the third eye, you know, like people like to say, but this knowledge and these messages are just there.
With your experience doing remote viewing, maybe it found that you were easily receptive to this kind of communication.
And did that happen because growing up with the haunted house and open, you know, or was it already there and, you know, already born with it? I don't know.
That's always the questions.
But it's true. Well, the remote viewers do say you can open it more and more, and then most people say you can exercise it to open it more and more.
Speaking of, like, I have a lot of questions. You're the first guest I've ever had on that's been trained in remote viewing, I believe. I gotta think about that. But I believe so. But yeah. So, what got you into remote viewing? That's something that's always interested me. I saw you did. One of the things I read about you is you did experiments too with the lottery, and you even wrote a book on this, right? Too.
Yeah.
This was connected to remote viewing as well.
Yeah.
I did some of my own personal experience. I've never trained as a remote viewer, but I've done a lot of reading, a lot of experimentation on my own, and I did some experiments like that with remote viewing, and I won a little bit of money, I have to say, on the lotto, but I'm too broke to keep on trying to do it, because I have to like spread a little bit of a net a little bit with the remote viewing part of it, I found on my end. But what got you, I mean, was it trying to win the lottery? What got you into remote viewing? Is it just your general interest, or did somebody go, hey, you should try this?
It was a long time ago. Someone had told me that you could actually, I guess, you know, be in one place and go somewhere else. And during that time of, you know, you would hear astral projection and out-of-body experiences, but someone had said, no, there's something that you can do called remote viewing that the military did. It's actual, you know, factual. They did it for 20 years. It was a secret program, and they were a little bit in the know of it. And so when they told me about it, I didn't, you know, I just thought, wow, that would be so cool. You know, maybe one day I'll get to do that, or how fascinating. I didn't know I don't think I knew they had classes at the time. And I think it was Richard Dolan that, and I think it was at Roswell that I mentioned it. And he said, well, I think it was him that told me about classes. And if it wasn't him telling me about classes, I remember him saying that he was into it, he would like to do it, and me just not ever experiencing it. I'd said, hey, you know, if you ever do it, let me know, because I'll do it with you. So he was like, okay, cool. So I kind of felt like, oh, I got a buddy in this. Right. But he never did it. I don't think he ever did. But at one point, I found the classes, and I remember calling him and saying, hey, you want to do this? And he had a family and everything. He couldn't do it. And I thought, I'm on my own. What am I going to do? I want to do it. So I went ahead and did it. It's expensive.
Yeah, it's not cheap.
Yeah, it's not a cheap thing to do. and you have basic classes, and then you have intermediate, and then the way the people I know have it set up, you have basic, intermediate, advanced, and then tools and another advanced and this and that and a whole bunch of other different classes. And it gets expensive because you don't have to just take the class, but you got to fly there and you got to stay in a hotel there and you got to eat, you know. So it gets crazy. But I did it under Lynn Buchanan. He doesn't teach anymore now. He said he was going to do some courses online. I don't know if he's doing that or not, but he was one of the guys with Project Stargate. So it was great. But
I'm almost positive I've heard him interviewed before. I know the name as soon as I read it. I've heard that. You know,
yeah,
I've read a number of books on it too.
Yeah, read his books and see anything you can on him. I actually interviewed him on Coast, so check that out too. He's an amazing, amazing guy. And Joe McMonagle.
Oh yeah.
Get him as well. They're just great people. But you know, there are courses you can take, and if you can't pay for the course, there's kind of ways around it. Where if you host a course and you can get them to come to where you are, and you have, I don't know, 8 other friends that will pay, then I think you get it half off or free or something like that.
So what was your experiences, you know, learning how to remote view? How far did you go with it?
I wish I would have gone a lot further with it. It actually is like if you play chess, you know how the more you play chess, the better you are.
Right.
It's a real thinking game. And martial arts, they call it the martial arts of the mind. And yeah, it's perfect for that. That Lynn came up with that, I think. It is something that you are disciplined. You sit down in a chair. You have a pencil and paper. And, you know, when you get more advanced, you can use modeling clay and a couple of other different things if you want. And I know that sounds so crazy, you know, how's it different? But it's a trained method, and you have to do it every day to really, really, really get good. However, we can all do it, and we can all do it really quickly. You'll do it the first time you try, and you'll get these glimpses of what you're supposed to be seeing and going to and traveling to, and you're amazed at when you get feedback because you realize you were there. You were actually there, and you were sitting in the spot the whole time. It's crazy.
I just training myself, like getting into it and researching it. I did experiments with my wife because I felt like the easiest person I could do it with is, we were dating at the time, but somebody who I'm really connected to. And I had her draw a picture, and then I had to focus on it and draw it myself. And we did this a few times, and if she just kept it simple as lines and that, and I didn't see her draw it. She did it separately in another room. If it was lines and stuff like that, I could see it. I could literally see it in my mind, and I'd come back. She'd be like, "How the hell did you do that?"
Jason, that's great.
You know, but I swear it's just because we were so connected. If I tried to do that with other people,
it'd
be harder.
Okay. You know? Well, that's where the skill comes in.
But I was shocked by it.
What's that?
I was shocked by my own results. I was I couldn't believe it.
It's crazy when you're like, whoa, you know, this is real. We can all do this. And then you realize we can all do this. Wow, you know, some people could say, well, it's because of your connection, just like you're saying. But the discipline does come in, and doing this every day and really practicing it. And they give you, you know, all the tips and all the tools and all the clues of what to do. And it's really, really cool.
Yeah, and I definitely feel like it's something everybody can do. One of my favorite people that got interviewed with remote viewing was Indigo Swan.
I have my hair. Let me get it. Right. Okay. Like my dog's hair.
But like Indigo Swan, you know, like I loved his interviews about remote viewing. You know, that guy's almost pretty much the godfather of remote viewing.
Yeah.
You know, especially when he talked about aliens.
Yes.
And they put that in shows. They've talked about like him remote viewing. Everybody knows I'm a big person about aliens on the moon. Like I'm not saying I believe it, but I'm like, it's a huge interest of mine. And Indigo did that and had a really crazy experience. Like the story is that the government brought him in to do this just to see if somebody could. I think is what would happen. And he saw like things that blew his mind when he did it, and probably frightened him. And so, you know, do you think, you know, doing this remote viewing is like, do you think he was right on? You think you can see these, you know, see the things on the moon, or see deeper into the mysteries of life with remote viewing like that?
Well, the great thing about it is because it's disciplined, you will have a database. Okay, you'll have facts and feedback. When you actually learn to do it, and what you do is you look for a target that you're given, and if you do it the correct way, the military way, you'll have this data back. You check the feedback after you do your session. So from checking your feedback, you find out if you're 80% correct or 70% correct. And when you start building up your database, you know how good you are with feedback, okay, when you actually have a real target that you can get feedback for. So when you go to these esoteric targets like the moon or Jupiter or Saturn or something like that, and you see something, how do you know if you've really seen that if you don't get feedback, right? But if you have a database that says you're 80% correct, statistically you're 80% right, then you can pretty much believe what you've seen esoterically is probably 80% correct. So that's how you can determine that. And are you talking about, with Ingo Swann, are you talking about something in general, or are you talking about the book Penetration? Are you familiar with the book?
I am. I've never read it, but I've listened to
Dude, you gotta
a
get
number
it.
of interviews. I know.
Come
I have a
on.
long book list.
No, that's your next one. It's your first one. It's your next one. That's all you do is read that. You'll freak out, and it's talking about what you're talking about. You'll love it, and it's really hard to find. So just go and look for a PDF online. I think that's how I saw it. Yeah, because it's like, the book is $600 if you find it.
Yeah, I know. I've seen it. That's what I'm saying. It's like one of those things that's on my list. If I can get a copy of it somewhere, I'd read it. Because, like I said,
download a PDF. You can download a PDF for free.
Really?
Yeah. Yep.
I'm gonna have to look into that.
You'll read it like that. You'll read it tonight before you go to bed. Boom.
Yeah.
It's great.
Especially because, like I said, we get on that topic too. You've done your interest in the UFO and alien phenomenon. How deep have you delved into that? What research have you done, or have you been with groups and gone out UFO hunting, like you've done with the Sasquatching and that, or?
Yeah. Well, one of my friends now is Dr. David Jacobs, and if you know him, he's the big abductee guy, right? And I actually learned and got to know him because I was putting together that show that later got me on Coast, the High Strangeness show. Mm-hmm. And I asked him if I could interview him. And from there, I've known him ever since. And I lived in Philly, which he's like right outside of Philly, about 25 minutes away from the city. So that was cool, too, to live that close to him. And just learned a ton from him. And so and this is what he taught me, and he was so dead on with it. He said, UFOs are lights in the sky. So when you start getting into the UFOs, if you've seen something in the sky, you start checking it out. Oh my gosh, is that a UFO? So when you get into that world, it's lights in the sky, and there's a lot of videos. I mean, you just showed a couple, right? They're lights in the sky or a shadow on the moon or something like that. Whatever. They're everywhere, but you can't get much further. It's just lights in the sky. Then you can go to where some people may have had landings or something like that, and you can't really just go to them. You might read up on them or something like that, unless something happened close by to you. But what that leads to, if you want to get really serious and deep, is what's inside those UFOs.
Right.
And the way that they found out what was inside was through regression and hypnosis with people that claimed to be abductees, and so that's where the real stories were. Why are they here? What are they doing? And that's where all the really cool stuff was happening. And so from abductees and being taken, close encounters, all this great stuff, then you get into their whole agenda, and from there, all of a sudden it becomes hybrids, because the big agenda that Jacobs talks about is the hybridization project, and so that they're taking the sperm and the eggs from us, and then mixing it with the ET, and there's this whole new hybrid that's walking the planet. And his latest book is Walking Amongst Us, and I actually have had it forever, and I haven't read it yet, and smack myself. But
there's another one on my list though, because I've heard him interviewed before, and it's something that interests me is that there's a possibility. I've always thought this too. Big fan. One of my favorite miniseries of all time is Taken. Steven Spielberg's Taken, which the whole point of that was this hybrid child they were trying to make, is that if they're abducting people and taking these specimens or semen and egg, that this has to be something reproduction, and all the reports of the aliens not having genitalia, unless it's a suit they're wearing, but like the Roswell crash and the supposed autopsies, and you wonder, is this some long game plan to make a new kind of alien human hybrid, and are we going to even recognize it once it's made? It could walk right among us and we wouldn't know. That's what I've always wondered, and that's a book too. I definitely is on my list to read.
Well, read these books prior to that. There's like 3 of them, because it'll lead you up to what the abductees have been going through. It takes you right up through to what it now leads to. Because what he's done is he's taken, I think, like 3 to 4 decades of staying with the same abductees and following them through their course with the abduction. So, after a certain time, they don't take the egg or the sperm anymore. So what do they do with you? Do they just toss you at that point? Are they done? No. When he, stayed with them, they had other projects in mind for these people that have been abducted. That's kind of their special people. And he's found out through, abductee after abductee. I mean, if he hears something once, that doesn't mean anything. He's got to hear it over and over again before he puts it down in his research as, what's next. And, it sounds like next what they do is they come down here, and the people that are abductees and have given the sperm or the egg or whatever, they've been abductees all their life, and their families have. The kids will, it's generational. But now they're training the hybrids how to walk amongst us and be a human.
Yeah, I've seen some people on, there's a newer recent YouTube video I've seen too of a lady they claim is a hybrid. I don't know if you've seen that. I couldn't give you a link to it, but man, I could believe she's a hybrid. She almost has like these eyes that are just memorizing, and she's got like this perfect, like beautiful, like kind of bone structure. Her skin's almost, I don't want to say scaly, but it's almost like it's got this sheen to it. She's beautiful. I'm not saying she's like a reptilian, but it's like that. It's like a hybrid. And she says she's known she's a hybrid all this time. I'm like, if they're out there, how many of them know? Do they even know they're a hybrid? That's the question.
Well, that's where Jacobs. That's a good question, because that's where Jacobs would say no, they would not. He would say they wouldn't tell if they were. He said that's a big secret, and that's their secret. Right? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
No, I said you would think so. They wouldn't tell.
Yeah, but there's always whistleblowers.
That's right, the whistleblower ones.
Yeah, there's going to be rebels.
That's great.
Or at least are always in TV shows. There's always the rebel alien that goes against the,
That token rebel, darn it. He's always a little greener than the other ones, right?
Yeah.
That is so funny. I like that line. Yeah, apparently he says that they would never do that because that's part of the secret. And he doesn't know if they're just trying to take over or just kind of fit in and, move forward and, just go on. But, yeah, that was very funny, Todd.
Have you ever seen, speaking of lights in the sky, have you had that experience? Have you seen a UFO up in the sky before? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had that experience. So what did you see? Because I always love to hear these stories.
Yeah, it's, if you all you have to do is look up, by the way, people. Just look up. This is what we're doing now, and this is why we're doing this. You get that? Yeah, we're looking in here.
Right, we're going to totally miss them.
We're all looking down, yeah.
That's a zombie apocalypse.
Just look up, people. Go outside at night and look up. Go to the beach and look up. Get on a boat, look up. Get out on the lake or whatever, the ocean, wherever you are, and go look up. It won't take long before you see things. It really doesn't. And if you got night vision goggles, look through that. I hear that's a wonderful thing. But just look up and you'll see something. But I've seen, golly, it doesn't even seem like a big deal to me because it's so kind of normal because the other stuff is even crazier. That's what happens. You start seeing
the lights in the sky.
Crazier.
The lights in the sky, of course, are not as interesting as the people's stories of regression. But when you have that encounter yourself, for me personally, when I've seen one of my instances of seeing a huge like Star Wars like ship fly over my head once with other people that witnessed it with me.
Whoa! Tell me about that.
Well, that was downtown Michigan City. I was in high school, and it was there was like 4 of us. It was in the middle of the night. We're all standing outside talking, getting ready to head home. And for some reason, I think it happened to all of us. We all got this weird feeling, and we all looked up. And right as we did, this thing silent as could be, no noise at all. And it was just like Star Wars, when the big Star Destroyer comes in over the camera view.
Yeah.
That's what it was like for us. But it was no lights. There was no lights. It was just this big, like a rectangular thing that just went right over our heads. It even had kind of like it wasn't like smooth or anything, like blocky in pieces of it. No lights at all. Like it was totally going stealth mode. Went right over heads, and it just was like this long, over us, just kept going, and then it was just took off into the horizon, and we all just stood there and like, what did we just see? Like we were speechless. We were like looking at each other like, what is going on? There's just no explanation to it at all. It was the weirdest thing. It wasn't when I expect to see a UFO, I expect to see like something out of Close Encounters of the Third Kind, lights and the whole thing. No, this was just like I said, it was like almost like a pillar, I should say, not rectangular, but it was like I said, it's like something out of Star Wars, like a Star Destroyer has all those like bumps and stuff all over the bottom of it, and just went right over our heads. And it was
that would be so cool. That would be the way to see one.
Yeah, I've seen some lights in the sky and that, but they're distant. That's the one I'm like, no, there's no denying to me that was something not of this earth. That's not government. That's not anything. It was too big. There's, it made no noise. To me, that for all my life, I'm grateful to have seen it. I got to see my one reel for sure. I know it was a UFO, and I wasn't alone. Other people saw it with me. So, yeah.
And massively big.
Yeah, there's no way that our government's. I'm sorry. TR3B, the triangle UFO. I believe that's probably it. There's people are seeing UFOs that are government tests that could be extraterrestrial, back engineered. But seeing that convinced me no, there's definitely things out there that are not back in. It's not our government.
It's the people that say there can't possibly life on beyond other planets that actually bothers me. Statistics and numbers alone, there has to be. It's impossible for it to not be there. Now, are they coming and visiting us? Are they butt probing guys in trailer parks? I don't know, but there has to be aliens.
Yeah, I agree. There has to be aliens. I'm also a big. I don't know how you feel on this topic, Connie. I'm a big fan of the idea of parallel universes. And if there are such things, and time travel, I'm a big fan of time travel and kind of the parallel universe combo of that. That it's possible that these things are coming back, like they're a parallel future. And this is one of my Jason Bland's deep thoughts. Parallel future out there. Okay, it could be our future, and they come back to a parallel timeline. It's not really their past, but it's close enough to their past to monitor us, discover us. Maybe they need genetic help because they screwed themselves up in the future, whatever. But they can change or do whatever they want here because it's a parallel timeline. It's kind of like the John Titor theory, if you're familiar with that.
And what's that theory?
You ever heard of John Titor, the whole time traveler? Probably a hoax thing, but it went on about early 2000. This guy went posting online saying he's John Titor. His name wasn't really John Titor, but he said his name was John Titor. He came from the year 2036. He posted pictures and a manual of his time machine. He came up with this. He would answer anybody's questions. He would tell them stuff about the future, but he said, I come from a parallel future. Like, I'm not actually in my own real past. He even met himself, like, as a child in Florida in the story. But the whole, you got to look up John Titor, because I saw you have a fascination with time travel. This one, it's probably a hoax, but it's fascinating. But the whole concept of it is even though he made future predictions, he said they might not come true. It's a beautiful hoax in itself for that concept.
That's right.
Because the idea is that he comes back here, he can change or do whatever he wants. It doesn't affect his future because it's parallel universe. You can't actually travel back to your own past. You're traveling back to a past that resembles yours, basically. That's just all these parallel timelines.
It gets confusing when you get into time travel. It just totally does. I mean, well, even the Bible talks about past, present, and future all happening at once, at the same time. So, if you can kind of grasp that, then yeah, all these things can be the case. But I mean, it just gets crazy. Even remote viewing is all about that too, because you can travel in the past, present, future, and then the people that are really, really good at it, they'll say you can travel also in time sideways and diagonally. So not just back and forth, but sideways and diagonally. What the freak does that mean? But if you get that good in advance, you'll know what it means, is what they would tell me.
Yeah, it's like I said, time travel is probably one of my favorite topics.
Yeah.
And my wife, when you watch Doctor Who, my wife's like, all right, stop it. It's like hurting my brain, but it's like one of those things I just seem to grasp very quickly.
Well, then you gotta like Stewie on Family Guy. I mean, Stewie's always doing time travel. That's great.
And parallel universe travel.
If we've learned anything, if a guy in a blue box ever just starts apologizing and says he's sorry, you're done.
Yeah, you're dead. Something horrible is going to happen. That's a Doctor Who reference. Sorry, people, if you haven't watched Doctor Who. You're missing out.
You haven't watched it. What's wrong with you?
Right, exactly. Yes, I'm a geek. But, loving time travel and all that, I've always felt like the whole alien thing could be time, they could be time travelers. Because people, you always hear somebody say about time travel, well, where's the time travelers? Why don't we see them? Well, you're seeing UFOs, and people are having these experiences. Who's to say they're not time travelers?
Yeah.
And even if they say they're from Zeta Reticuli, okay, maybe in their future they've left this planet. They've gone to another planet. Now they've come back to their origin. If they're thousands of years into the future, who's to say they're still going to be on this planet? So yeah, they're from Zeta Reticuli, but they're actually still future us.
Right.
Well, when you get talking about the alternate dimensions and parallel universes, you really start to open the rabbit hole of the Mandela effect and everything else, and now you've got what CERN's doing. So, I mean, it could start getting scary quick.
Oh, the Mandela effect. I really want to get somebody on the show on that topic. Have you heard of that one, Connie?
Tell me.
The Mandela effect, that kind of actually started on our bell, Coast to Coast AM. A lot of the talk about it back in the 90s. People would call in and be like, I thought Nelson Mandela was dead. Like they had a funeral and he died. This is before he died, that people remembered it. They remembered it being on TV. People would call in on, Art would get those lines filled up with a ton of people, and they'd call in and saying, I remember that. I remember his funeral, even though he's still alive at that time. He was still alive. And that's when they started talking about, like, well, did he really die? Did somebody time travel and change it? And yet we have this imprinted memory left in. So it became known as the Mandela effect. And it's becoming kind of a popular topic now. I mean, it has, like I said, its own name. Noreen of Paranormal Zone TV on YouTube did a show recently on it.
She's a neat lady, yeah.
Yeah, she just had a guy on. I'm like, I don't want to steal her guest, maybe down the road, but I'd love to get him on to talk about it.
No, everybody wants to be on. Everybody wants to be on another show, so it's not stealing. She already got him.
No, I know. She would. I like Noreen. Loves me. I love her. She's cool. But I want to get the guy on eventually to talk about it because I've been watching that episode. I'm like, oh my god, I'm such a passionate person about time travel, parallel universes, and the Mandela effect. Whenever I would hear that on Art Bell, or I think they've talked about it on George. I think George has talked about it.
Oh, absolutely. Too. I'm sure. Absolutely. It's in all the realms too. You're exactly right. What you're doing, you're saying, hey, you want to follow your passion of that. That's where, like, I don't know a lot about the time travel because that hasn't been one of my biggest passions. It's kind of gone different ways. Went from after the ETs and into the Bigfoot area, but quantum theories, all that kind of stuff, quantum physics, that's all starting to come into play once again. But the time travel. I was doing a lot of that with the remote viewing, so that is perfect for you to go into that area because you'll learn a lot about that. But it gets so complicated, and you actually find yourself in it to where you experience it yourself. So I kind of like to more so experience it myself than go reading everybody else's stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's just cooler that way to me, and you have a better way of being able to ask other people other questions. So. Like Philadelphia experiment and things like that. You had all that stuff happening too, but I really want you to definitely learn how to remote view. I'll give you some links to this woman, Williams, and try to do it with her. She's fantastic. But that's where you get caught up in, if someone gives you a target and that target is some church back in 1736, you'll actually go back to that church in 1736.
Yeah, that's pure time travel. What you're doing.
Yeah.
And then you want to talk about going to the future with remote viewing. Now, I thought I read this right. You did write a book about, like, remote viewing for the lottery?
Yeah, well, it's a method. Yeah. It's this neat little method that I had learned, and I just put it to a book, and thinking, hey, this is going to be that ATM machine card. Everybody's going to want this book.
Right.
I'll have passive income, be on a beach, own my yacht, and do all the films and documentaries I want on aliens and crazy stuff. So basically, what it is it's a platform of numbers, and so the lotteries keep changing on me, darn it. So I got to keep
That's
going.
what I know.
It's like they keep changing their numbers. What? Why did you do that?
Because we're remote viewers.
Yeah. and change the statistics too, right? And change my freaking book all the time. So I don't know what it is now, 1 through 75 or 1 through something like that.
Yeah, I don't remember.
But it's basically where you have a pendulum, and so that's the other part. So let me tell you, the haters come out if they're not into pendulums or remote viewing, and they say, "How this is the stupidest book ever. I hate it. I wasted my time on it." And you're like,
this is something I did. I did it with a pendulum, and I did it with charts. I came up with this all on my own. I didn't read anything on it, so I'm very interested to hear more. So go ahead.
Yeah, well, it's a platform of like the numbers 1 through 69 or whatever it is, and then I gradually take you through using the pendulum to the specific number that you're looking for, and remote viewing is it's a connection. It's a connection between your conscious and your subconscious. They actually start talking to each other. But right now they're not talking to each other. And remote viewing and the military style and that disciplinary method teaches you and trains you to have your conscious and subconscious talk to each other. And so when you're doing the pendulum too, your subconscious is talking through your fingers and the little muscles, and it's moving your pendulum. So if you can read all that right, and you're within yourself, right on in target connecting, you should, it's a very good method to use. And a lot of people start out with 3 numbers, and there's a lot of other different methods too that people have in using remote viewing techniques to get numbers, but this is just one of them, and it's good to start out with the pick 3s and then the pick 4s and gradually get up to the big ones, but
right to the big one.
Yeah, exactly. Go right to
man. But I actually had some weird success with it at a time. It's just you kind of have to be able to invest a little bit of money to do it.
Well, not the lottery, because it's $1 or $2, right? So there's some money involved, but it's not a lot. You got to buy my book.
Well, well, for me, for the way I was doing it, I was kind of using it to give me because I knew I wouldn't just hit the numbers right on. Probably,
no, don't think that. You already cursed yourself.
Right. Well, no. I was thinking like maybe I will, maybe I won't, but I would give myself kind of like a number frame, like a number web. So you're talking about investing $5 or $10 a week in the lottery. I wasn't like buying a ton of tickets, but I'm buying $5 or $10.
Yeah.
Being on a budget, I had to like kind of cut my experience out. But I won. You can ask my wife. I won like at times like 140. I had. Was Hoosier lottery, so just the 6 numbers. I was just doing the Hoosier lottery, so I didn't have to mess with the Powerball number or anything. But like I got like 4 of the numbers, and then 2 of the other numbers were 1 number off, and I did that 3 times.
That's what you'll find with my method too. You'll actually find out where you stop connecting with your subconscious, which is pretty cool because you learn more about yourself.
I'm going to let the audience know I have the Skype line open. We're going to continue to talk, but if you call in on the Skype line, we will take your questions if you got any for Connie, or Connie, if you have anything you want to talk about for future shows too, go ahead and call in. The Skype line is open. Should turn up
for any that couldn't call in, there was a question for Connie if she had a theory on why no physical remains or evidence of Bigfoot have been found yet.
Thank you, Todd. I missed that in the chat room. I was trying to see questions, so. Yeah, that's a really good question. What's your thoughts on that one, Connie?
Well, again, I'm no expert, and honestly, even the people that are experts, they're not experts. We're all wanting to know the answers. You can see things or hear things, or go out and have a ton of evidence. But well, some people actually mind speak to them, and they get answers on things like that. But my specific answer, of course, is I don't know. I think. The reason why is because they're not from here. I don't know where they go. I don't know where they stay. I don't know, I don't know. You can have regular people say, well, the body just decays very quickly in the forest, I don't know.
We would have found something by now, is my opinion on that.
Yeah. Well, and then you'll have arguments with that, like even Bobo from Finding Bigfoot. Bobo's like, yeah, they found scat before, and they found remains before, pieces of remains or hair, something like that. But, I guess it can't even be proven, because when they get that kind of evidence, it's like, well, we don't know what it is. It's crossed between this and something that we don't know what it is. So, okay.
That's what always seems to happen when they get some kind of DNA. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a constant confusion of back and forth. This is me from learning what I've learned along the way. Just me. I don't think they're. I can't say I don't think they're from here. I don't know where it is that they go. I don't know.
I call it walk-ins, because I think there's not just Bigfoot experiences. There's other creatures. You got Mothman. You got the Jersey Devil. There's this whole paranormal side to cryptozoology that a lot of cryptozoologists don't want to touch with a 100-foot pole. And we've talked about on the show. I've had guests on have talked about this. But I think a lot of it is paranormal. It can be tied into the aliens. It can be tied into the paranormal phenomenon.
Absolutely.
That is, I had Nick Redfern on. He talked about this quite a bit on my show. Is that they are somehow, these could be, interdimensional. That they are walking in at a time, and then boom, they walk right back out.
Yeah, and a lot of people see them in portals all the time. They see them going in and out of them. I've heard that from so many different people, and I can believe that. There's lights in the sky when these things are.
Yeah, there's a lot of UFO. A lot of UFO reports tied.
Well, that'd definitely be your easy answer then too. Is if it's a dimensional traveler and they're as intelligent as people, they possibly or more than likely have a burial ritual and don't leave their injured or dead behind.
True.
Yeah, they could be burying. And they're not left here. That's where I think they go somewhere else, and wherever that other place is, that's where they're, taking a leak or whatever.
I showed on one of my World Wide Web of Weirds. I had one of the Bigfoot guys on here who had the scat.
We're the dimensional litter box. Awesome.
Well, he had the poop. He basically had sprayed it. He was telling people how to preserve Bigfoot poop and put it this long thing out on his truck. And he's touching it, and I'm like, But I mean, that is a committed researcher to go pick up Bigfoot poop. That is a committed person.
Yes. And, again, maybe someone has found this stuff. Maybe that is what they did find it, and maybe that's what they found when they said it's half this and half something else that we don't know. I don't know the answer to any of that, and I, there's so many other things that, I'm told stuff, and then I'm told not to ever tell it. So
I know that. I know that there's certain stuff that they don't want you to reveal because it's how they validate. That goes for aliens too. That I know they've talked about that. Other researchers are there are certain things I will not tell.
Yeah.
That way, when somebody comes to me with a bit, I know it's the real deal, because there's no way they could have known that, because that's a trade secret almost. They know these in abduction cases. It's the same deal. Yeah, and so don't do that. Because I would totally I wouldn't want anybody to reveal that. Because as a researcher, that's what I want.
My own research.
Yeah, as a researcher myself and these things, I would never want to divulge those things that can help legitimize. Even though my other part of me is totally curious what it is,
I know.
What those secrets are, but.
Well, that's true. Well, like Ron Moorhead of Sierra Sounds, okay, he told this on the show when I interviewed him on Coast. So he got the best language ever. All this language from the Sierra Mountains, just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unreal. Scary stuff. And he had said at one point he was up there in that area, and he actually, I think he was trying to get video of one of them or something. Anyway, he was walking or kind of running, or I don't know what it was he was doing, but he was moving forward, and he hits a wall. It's an invisible wall. It just hits a wall. Wow. It's not there, but he hits it, And so that kind of makes sense to, maybe they're on that other side of that wall, and we don't notice that this whole other world's right there because it looks like the forest, continued forest. There's some sort of mirror image or something.
I just got done watching Stranger Things on Netflix, which had a lot to do with the Montauk Project, and it's what it's influenced by. But that's all about another dimension sitting right on top of ours, and the creature can pop in.
Yep.
People and then pop right back into his other dimension,
Hey, don't spoil it. I just started watching that.
Sorry, I'm not going to say anymore. It's a really good show. Really good show. Can't wait to season 2.
Well, what is it? What's the ranch? Skinwalker Ranch.
Skinwalker Ranch. Oh my God, I am so fascinated with that.
Yeah. Well, when they studied that, they said creatures would come in and out of just like, some sort of portal. And it would just like open up like a curtain. People said that about the Jersey Devil. Like an area would just open up like a curtain and boom, something would come in. And you hear these like people will see a wall that's kind of waving kind of thing and squirming. And that's where things come in and out. And I think, Todd, you mentioned something earlier about all these things have been talked about from the past. Where did they come from? One of the things that I was told about Skinwalker Ranch that I don't know if it's written down anywhere. I know I've heard it many times. Maybe I read it too, but they said a Cyclops walked through.
I've heard that. Yes, I've heard that one before. I don't know if I heard it on a radio show or somewhere, but I remember hearing that. That Skinwalker Ranch has always fascinated me.
Yeah.
Well, just the name Skinwalker Ranch indicates something, because the Wendigo or Skinwalker has been kind of prehistoric legend that was oral tradition throughout Native America. So.
Well, they had also. Speaking of prehistoric as well, too, I just thought of a dinosaur. They said a dinosaur walked through as well. I mean, so these things are maybe they're still happening. They're still going on in parallel universe.
And that's a doorway there, like it's got all these doorways opening up there. It makes you wonder about missing people too. I know that's something you've ever been interested in, but I've always loved like the people who have just, they're walking up, especially in national parks.
Yeah.
Walking up a trail, and it's like you never want to be the last person behind or the first person ahead, because you're the one that's going to go missing, and nobody's ever going to hear from you again.
I always want to be in the middle, man. I'm always wanting to be in the middle.
But you can go ahead, and you go behind me, okay? Okay, and I'll let your families know I searched for you.
And if anybody has questions that can't call in on Skype, I'm reading the chat, so I will relay them on.
Thank you, Todd. Yeah, Jamie usually does it for me. She's having a really bad tooth problem tonight, so she had to jump off. So.
Oh, she did? Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, she does. Jamie's great. She tries to get on every Sunday night, and so I can't blame her tonight. She's not been feeling well. She tried tonight, but yeah, she's got to take a break.
Yeah, I'm the one that's absent most of the time.
But
what is that movie? It was a TV show, Mystery Science 3000.
Oh, where they talk about the movies, like they watch the movies and the little like chicken robot thing. Oh, I love that.
Talks. I think that's what's going on.
Oh yeah, no, I used to watch that a lot.
That was great. Yeah.
A question for Connie was: does Connie know about Max Spears?
I don't know about
Spires.
Spires.
Spears. I thought it was Spears. Actually, it might be Spires, but I think it's Spears. I do know about Max. I actually talked to Max before. And actually may have talked to him 2 or 3 times.
The name sounds familiar, but I'm losing who he is.
He's one of the he's a super soldier. He was a super soldier.
Oh, yep, okay, that ties it in.
And he passed away recently. They found his body in Poland.
Yeah, that's why it came. That's why it's familiar. I saw that.
Yeah. But years ago, I got into contact with him, and we had communicated. And at one point, it got weird. If you've known any of the super soldiers, the poor guys are, they just go through so much that you don't know what you're going to meet when you talk with them. They can be just so frantic from what just happened, or they're, on a nice level of talking to you that day. It's crazy. I don't want to say anything negative about them at all.
No, well, I think what you're getting at, though, is that what they've been through.
Oh, it's crazy.
To make a super soldier is they're literally ripping your brain apart mentally to make you that super soldier. So these guys are not going to be stable after it.
They're not. Yeah, they're all over the place. But they're you end up seeing their vulnerable side. I have where they're nice and kind and scared and they don't know what to do and they're lost. And but when I talked with Max, and I don't know what happened, but at one point somebody started imitating him and saying they were him. So I think I also experienced that, because I remember a phone call with him that didn't sound like him at all. It wasn't the way he would talk. It wasn't necessarily the voice. It was more of the way he would think. He wasn't saying the things that I knew him to say. or where he was coming from his perspective. It was something different. It was not, it didn't seem like the same person. And then later on he had said, hey, somebody's out there imitating me and saying they're me.
Oh, wow.
Follow-up for that was they wondered if it wouldn't be personal for you since you've spoke with him or met him. Have you seen his deathbed interview and that he supposedly died immediately after the interview?
No, I have not, and I would love to. Do they have a link or?
Well, we'll find out. If there's a link, then I will pass it on to Jason or you.
Okay, great. Yeah, no, I'd love to see that. He was a very intense guy, all about love, too. Very much about love.
Yeah, well, going through what he did, you know, like I said, for what I know, I don't know his personal story. I know the name. After you mentioned it, I was like, I know that name. But knowing a little bit about what they did to make super soldiers, it's a lot of, you know, mind-altering manipulation. You know, you're talking about also making it's you know, it's tied into MK Ultra.
Yeah, you got the Montauk Boys and the Montauk Project. You know, one of my friends, Christopher Garantano, did the documentary of the Montauk Chronicles, and and he really depicted it very well. He did a great job with it.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, so you've seen it. That's good. Yeah, Christopher.
I got him on Friends on Facebook.
Oh, okay. Ask him to do your show. He's a great guy.
Yeah, I've talked to him a little bit. He hasn't gotten back to me about what dates yet, but he was interested in coming on. I would love. That's a huge other subject that I'm totally would love to talk about. Yeah,
he's deep into it too. That turned me on to, you know, I actually interviewed Preston Nichols on Post, and that was very interesting.
Yeah, I bet.
In many ways, so listen to it sometime and you'll know.
Well, you know, speaking of that, we were talking about Stranger Things on Netflix. I'm not going to give too much away, but you know, they totally took the whole Montauk Project, and instead of being Montauk, New York, I think it was New York for Montauk, right? It's in Indiana now. It's basically that story. I'm like, for people that don't know or know that, sorry, but that's basically what they're doing with Stranger Things. Of course, they're also throwing in all this 80s nostalgia at the same time. That's awesome. You should watch that on Netflix, Connie, if you're familiar with Montauk like that. You'll be definitely entertained. It's really, really, really good.
Okay.
So what does the future hold for you, Connie? You think with like Blue Rock Talk, where are you trying to go with that as a YouTube channel? You do live streams kind of like this, and also do your pre-recorded videos, or what you're gonna kind of, you know, where you think you're gonna go with the future with that?
Well, it's kind of developing on its own. The name is Blue Rock Talk, and I actually started working on the website first, and then I kind of realized, oh, wait a minute, YouTube's got that's where it's happening, you know, and because I was thinking about just doing a podcast, and then I thought, well, I can't just do a podcast. I like TV, you know, so YouTube, and then I can put my audio there too, you know, so just going back and forth on what to do. It's been developing along the way. My bluerocktalk.com is in the process. I kind of put it to the side for a little bit and started working with the YouTube channel and started learning that. And I have a lot of ideas and things that I want to do. I'm going to be doing live events, absolutely, with interviews as well as some really cool live events. I don't want to give them away yet,
okay.
But they will be really interesting, and I'm excited about it because I'm lucky enough to know a lot of people, and it's not actually from Coast where people might go, oh, you know people from Coast. However, that definitely helps without a doubt. Coast is that's a cherry on top.
Yeah.
That's absolutely wonderful. I'm very blessed to be there. But just from my own research of just going out and grabbing and reaching out to these people because they're there to learn too. They want to know as well as you do. They're all still into it, right? So just going out there and doing that. I've got a lot of people that I know, and then they know someone that knows somebody. So I'm happy to be able to do just like you. And I'll be, there's going to be some live events. There's going to be a lot of neat things that are taped and just little tidbits here and there if I'm out with somebody, and just to throw, content here constantly up through, whenever I can. If I'm talking to somebody that's into remote viewing, we'll do a little bit, throw it up there. Talk to somebody that's into Ouija boards, whatever radionics, stuff like that. And
I read the Radionics. Now that I feel a little like I'm not familiar with that one. What is Radionics? Really quickly, because I read that and I'm like, what is that one? I'm probably gonna feel dumb when you say it. I'm like, oh yeah, okay.
No, you won't. I'm trying to think of the year it kind of all started happening. I can't think of the guy that even started it right now. Gosh darn it, I used to know all that. It's basically, actually, I have a wishing machine right here if you want to see the wishing machine.
Yeah, I've heard about this. I don't know very much about it, but I've heard about this.
Well, here's one right here.
Yeah, I've heard about that. What is all that? It's not something I'm familiar with. I've just heard tidbits on other shows and articles and that, but I've never got to know too much. Is this what Radionics is about?
Yeah, that's what Radionics is. It's basically, okay, when you when people pray or they meditate, they pray and they meditate on one thing that they're looking forward to or thinking about or whatever. I mean, I'm giving you one perspective of it. Let's say you're praying for, I don't know, I hate to. When you say a prayer, what you're supposed to do is put it out there and leave it alone. Okay? So when you say a wish, you're also supposed to make a wish, put it out there and leave it alone.
No, that's why I never have my wishes come true.
You're holding on to it, right? That's
right.
You're holding on to it. And,
this is really interesting. So, okay.
And some people say, if you keep asking for it, or you got to keep, concentrate on it. It'll come. But it's really more of the letting go part of it. Apparently, is when it happens. But if you have a radionics box, this one in particular is the wishing machine. It's Dr. Mulder's wishing machine. You actually, what you wish for, you put on one side, and you turn the dials with your other hand, and you're getting a stick is what it's called, and you get the right frequency, and you send out your wish. Let's say you wish for a new car. Okay, let's just say it's a car, and you put a picture of that car on there. Okay, and let's just say that's all it is. It's a car. You want a new car. You put the frequency in, you dial it in, and then you just put it down, and you just wait for it to happen. And what it does is it just continuously sends out signals over and over and over again. It just continuously sends it out. You don't have to. It does the work for you. It's kind of like you drop a pebble into the pond and you get ripples. It's that ripple effect. So it just keeps going out into the universe until it, brings it back to you.
That is really interesting. So how did you get the Radionics device? I mean, like, how do people get this? I'm sorry, you got me totally fascinated. I've heard clips and never understood what they were talking about till you put it out there to me.
Well, this is great. No, I was studying radionics for a while, and let me tell you, these boxes are expensive. They are.
I bet.
10,000, 5,000, 80,000.
I need a wish for one of those.
Yeah, you got to wish for that. Exactly.
It's cheaper to get into Scientology.
I've seen, and that's one of the things I was like, well, this isn't any good. People can't even afford this. It's crazy. And these people that would be building these machines, there's no electronics on it. You don't need anything electronic. You can if you want for maybe a boost of power, but they say you really don't even need that, But at one point, someone had told me, they showed me, I mean, it was about 3-4 years I was studying this stuff and looking into it. And then somebody sent me one and said, hey, check this out. It's called the wishing machine. And I was like, oh, there we go, Radionics again. But I looked at it, and the price was like under $200. It was ridiculously low, under 200 or under 300, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my gosh, that's affordable. So I ended up looking for the guy, Dr. Mulder is who does it, and I was looking for him to do an interview because blogging on HuffPost, I wanted to interview the guy.
Oh yeah, I would too.
Yeah, and so anyway, I met him, and we've been friends ever since, and this is one of his machines, and by the way, if you get a hold of Dr. Mulder...
is it like Mulder, like Fox Mulder? I'm sorry, not joking, but that's what I'm wondering.
That's his little thing, yeah, that's his thing.
That's awesome.
If anybody wants it, I'll give you the information of how to get a hold of him. And
yeah, I would love to.
Ask for a Connie Willis special and see what he does for you, because he would do Connie Willis specials for me.
Oh, wow.
A lot of people would ask, so I'm like, you got to do a Connie Willis special. So
have you felt like since you got this device, it's worked for you, that you've been able to do this, like use it for that?
It's pretty cool. Well, I've got some wishes on this one right now. I got a wish on this one right now.
But you can't talk about it. Can't say it.
Jinx it. I don't want to jinx it.
Right. Right, I understand that.
Then
Well,
it doesn't happen.
well, you know, now you got my brain interested in a whole new like topic, you know, that I definitely want to start reading more about, because I'd see posts about guests, and I never get to listen to shows, or I'd hear an end of. I listen to a lot of old George Norrie and Art Bell episodes on TuneIn, and so I'd hear like end tales about it. You know, I'm like, oh dang it, I wish I could hear that radio episode. So I should be a Coast Insider again.
That's the most inexpensive one you're going to find.
Yeah.
It turned me on to it, and that's why I was like, oh my gosh, this is affordable for people. So that's why along the way too, he'll be with me at different things, and we'll have some of his machines, and you know, if I happen to be around him at any time, and the Connie Willis special.
It kind of reminds me of the Tibetan, because used to be really into studying different religions and that, but the Tibetan Buddhist Topa. You know, the focusing on like a mantra or a symbol, you know, and the topa is a thought form that can become real, you know. For people who've watched Supernatural, it's also on there. That's one of their episodes. But, you know, it's a thought form that become real by focus. It's like what you're talking about, radionics, reminds me a lot about what the Tibetan monks would do.
Well, and
meditation.
Well, yeah, it's meditation, it's prayer, but you have a tool. And sometimes that's what people need, is a tool. That's what they need to be able to place that prayer or that thought or that wish or that desire somewhere else so it gets out of their head. And again, they say the secret of prayer is not just asking for it, but letting it go. And when you want something, you're still wanting it because you haven't let it go. You got to let it go.
I think there's a lot of truth to that. I really do, because there's things that have happened recently in my life, things that I've gotten that I feel very lucky to have gotten, like very lucky. You know, things I'm not, very not financially well off, you know, and I've had some people come through and help us at times when, you know, these are things I thought about a while ago and I just kind of had to let it go because it's just not happening right now, and then it happened.
Let it go.
You know, I got a car, you know, very generously from the family that they didn't have to do that, you know.
Wow.
You know, so things like that, you know, 2 cars that way, you know, and I had, if you saw what we were, 2 different cars at 2 different times I've gotten that way. If you'd known what we were driving, they were death traps, literally.
Oh, wow.
And so I mean, we've been helped out, you know, and I'm getting a portal now. From, you know, Steve Huff's portal, you had him on last night.
Yeah.
You know, those are expensive. My wife's not going to let me invest that kind of money to build something like that. I've had the poor man's portal. Uh-oh, Connie's going to pull it out. I knew it.
Oh my gosh, it's so heavy.
Oh yeah, I know. Everybody says they're really heavy because you got guitar pedals on there and an amp with a magnet in it.
This was him. He was using. You'll see it on some of his videos. He sent this to me. I have not used it yet. I mean, I don't know what is attached to it, you know, with Steve.
Well, for a long. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I'm sorry.
Let's say for a long time I've been doing on my show. You know, I do once a month. You know, I have my show every Sunday. Once a month I do a show called ITC Collective, which is Steve's group.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And we do live spirit box on the show. And I've had what I've called a poor man's portal. So, you know, I've taught people how to do this kind of the same effects. You're not going to get the great results I think you do with his box there, but I had what is called a poor man's portal, which basically does the same noise reduction and reverb. Mm-hmm. And I've been using that for a long time, but I've always wanted a portal, you know, and you know, it's one of those things like, oh, I wish there was a way or whatever, and I kind of let it go because I got my poor man's portal.
Right.
And now one of the viewers of the show and a friend of mine who's kind of taking a break is giving me it. It's coming tomorrow. So now I got one.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Let it go.
So when you say that, like about wishes and stuff like that, it really makes a lot of sense to me when you say that. So it's a really interesting topic. The storm is still going on, so I might be ending the show here a few minutes early. I can hear it. Like I'm like,
you've only got a few minutes left, so.
Yeah. I just don't want to get zapped. My wife's always afraid when these storms happen. Because if you saw my picture, Connie, of my setup down here. We literally call it tearing a hole in the universe. That one of these days that I'm going to get zapped sitting here because of all the different wires and stuff like that.
Well, about that, isn't there a way to ground yourself there? Don't you
I got it grounded, but it's still a fear. That it could happen. But nobody called in on the Skype line. I know some people are afraid to call in. I think Brody, one of my big Skype in line callers, wasn't on tonight, so I was hoping she'd call in for questions. But yeah.
They were up watching. They were listening to Steve and I last night.
Oh,
Jason,
yeah.
one of the questions that came in for you was your son Dean named after the character from Supernatural? So,
What do you guys think? It's my favorite TV show. Yes, he was named after Dean. That we've always liked that name. So, you ever watch Supernatural, Connie?
No, I don't. I usually watch more of the reality stuff because, still trying to work on them myself. I've got a couple, out there that may come to fruition, so I don't watch some of the drama ones because of that. I want the real thing,
Oh, I get that. But it's great because of all the different mythology they throw in on Supernatural. I'm a big geek guy because I went to school for film and that, so I love I love seeing anything sci-fi out there. That's my shows. The reality shows, I like some of them, but some of them drive me nuts because I don't feel there's a lot of reality going on.
Well, no, that's very true. There's no question about that.
I'm not going to name any names on which reality shows, but that's how I feel. It irks me a little bit.
It's fun to watch Alone. I like Alone.
I do like a lot of the. I like the newest one by Nick Groff, and not the Shepherdstown one. I haven't really got to see that, but his I think it's Paranormal Lockdown.
Oh, okay. It seems like to me what they've done before already, though. I mean,
there's only so much you can do with a ghost hunting show.
But I mean, they locked themselves in. That's what they were doing before.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got the reality show to talk to Connie about sometime. It's a paranormal one that, yeah. I'll give her the idea, and then she can just send me the royalties.
We'll try to make it a show. You got it. Okay, great.
Yeah, I've had a lot of those ideas over the time. I just feel like it's all being done. Like they need to do something new. So if you got an idea, you're trying to get out there with paranormal reality, I hope you do, because they need to do something new. They're doing the same stuff over and over again.
They're looking for something new. It's very hard to come up with something new because a lot of the stuff, you're not going to get an answer. You're not going to get that answer at the end of the show like everybody thinks. You're not going to see that ghost on command. You're not going to see that ET on command. You're not going to see these things when you want to. And that's the hard part about it. It's stories, and that's where you got to go. Some of the ideas I have, you got to see what happens, but it's what happens. You don't get the answers, and that's what I was going to tell you about the Bigfoot. The thing that interests me the most about the Bigfoot is, even though some people now that I've gotten into it a little further, they're like, you'll never be able to do it. But I think it is the creature that, or being. Some people would get mad at hearing the word creature because they're forest friends, or they're buddies, or they're pals. So you start walking a fine line the more you learn about them and the different groups of people that are split on what these things are. But I believe that they are the ones that will be the easiest to capture on film or tape, even though people will argue right now with me on that. But I'm saying in general, it's easier
to see that
than an ET. It's easier to get that than a ghost. It just is. I think it is.
If they're real, if they're out there, yeah, it should be easier. You gotta go out in the forest to get it, but you have a place to go. You have locations. I know these cryptozoologists that are into this have secret locations they don't want to tell people about because they're Bigfoot ground. They know they're there. They don't want them to get encroached on or harmed. They don't care about getting fame for it. They want to protect the creatures.
That's exactly right. They develop a relationship with them. And that's what I've not seen anywhere else. I mean, a relationship with these beings, and it's really, really neat because these really tough guys, will leave little gifts and things for the Bigfoot, and they're like, they protect that Bigfoot like crazy. I love it. I think it's really great, and I think there's different creatures out there. I think there's nice ones and not so nice ones, and big ones and little ones, and I think they're all very, very different, but I do believe, even though people will argue, hey, they know that you have a camera and they're not going to come around. They're not going to let you get a shot unless they want you to get a shot. So
right.
I think they're the easiest to get that, but maybe their permission is what's got to be granted.
That's a good point. Maybe there's a cryptozoologist out there who's working on that right now. He's working on developing the relationship.
They are for sure, but some of them, they just give up the cameras because once they do, then they have more interaction with them once the cameras are gone. And some of these creatures have said to them, hey, why are you trying to trick me, by trying to get...
You're right.
And so they're like, once they get rid of them, they have more interaction.
Well, thank you, Connie, so much. We're down to almost the midnight hour. Thank you so much for coming on. Now, people, there's also, we didn't mention for Blue Rock Talk, you're doing something on, what's it called, Patreon, to donate?
Okay, I'll just tell you real quick. So Blue Rock, it's in development. So it's going to be like TV and radio, and you submit things, and it'll have like what you and I are doing. It'll have that on there too, and I want people, if they sing, sing something, as long as it's their own work, you can sing and say hi to me. And if you're out Bigfooting or you're out ghost hunting, you can say, "Hey, Connie, we're out here, and we just want to say hi, and show me some of your video. Take some video, and I'll post it up on the YouTube channel." And it's just all about a lot of content of a lot of things, and trying to pull it all together to where you can go and check it out for yourself to see all sorts of different types of things that are interesting on the earth. Not just the Bigfoot, not just the UFOs, just anything, and it's going to be full of content, and I want people to be a part of it. That's the bigger part for me, is I want people to say, "Hey, Connie, we're out camping, and we're going to go look for UFOs today or tonight, and we're going to show you some of what we do." Just cut in from time to time and tell me what you're doing. Please know that Blue Rock Talk, if you subscribe at the Blue Rock Talk YouTube, or if you go to the website or Twitter or anything, you are now an official Blue Rocker. And so I want to say hi to future Blue Rockers, and that's what it's all about. Yeah, you can go fund me, and you can go to Patreon account. Those are funding things, but I think at one point it's going to be a membership site, because I'm going to have some exclusive stuff that it's there's, you got to make a living doing it. This is not something that you can just do as a hobby. This is kind of my life and what I do for a living, so I think I'm going to, kind of pull away from all the other things, and that will be the income of putting together a show. So it'll eventually be a membership website, $5 a month or something like that. But you'll see some really neat things, and you can be a part of some really neat things. But subscribe to Blue Rock.
I want to become a Blue Rocker. I will try.
Hey, I just subscribed, so.
All right.
I'm subscribed to the YouTube channel, but if you get the website and everything going like that, I want to be a member on that.
And if you do the membership, really the only way to do it, the best way, is to do it on your website. So it'll be on the bluerocktalk.com instead of the YouTube. Because the YouTube, if I do a membership, it's like they take like 45% of your earnings, and that's just not fair to any of us.
No. And a lot of your ideas for your shows, the stuff why I started building Paranormal Soup. I don't know if I'll ever make money doing Paranormal Soup. I'm not a professional broadcaster, so I don't feel right trying to take anybody's money. But one day, maybe I might be able to make a dime doing this. If I can, I not to say I wouldn't try. I might one day. It's not anytime soon. I'm still working on building my audience and building my setup, and it's gotten better. It's gotten
there's no reason ever in setting up a GoFundMe or Patreon just so people can help you have good equipment to broadcast with.
Yeah.
Maybe one day I will, but I'm still working on. I have my anywhere from 15 to 30 people that watch the show live, and the more people watch it afterwards, because I have to do my show on Sunday night. But one day,
that's what's great about it, And do the GoFundMe and do the Patreon. It takes you just minutes to put that together and see if someone will help you out that way. I mean, that's what I'm doing. Hey, I'm used to going into professional broadcasting TV shows and radio shows and having millions of people already there. And now you pick up one person at a time. It's nuts. It's hard.
Yeah, I know. I've built the show 1% at a time. That's what I've done. But I love it. Well, thank you, Connie, so much. Definitely should have you on again. Hey, and one thing I wanted to mention to you, if you ever want to do another Coast to Coast AM show, and I mentioned it to Steve, do you ever able to do Skype on your show, in that studio?
I need to ask them about that, because I don't know. I might be able to. You always gotta. It's George's show, so you gotta ask the man.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying if you ever do get Skype, I'm able to do all that stuff that Steve has. I can stream that live into the show if you ever wanted a live session on the show.
Okay. Well, couldn't I just do that with Skype too?
No, that's what I mean. It's through Skype, because I have it all into a mixing board. You wouldn't want to do it over a phone because it would sound like awful. It would be awful. But it comes through Skype really clear.
Yep.
So something to think about. It'd be cool to do that on radio, where you got a listener base that you could reach out to. Because I swear, when we do these shows, weird stuff happens.
Oh, okay. Wait a minute. When you do what shows, weird things?
The ITC collective shows, the live spirit box stuff.
Oh, without a doubt. You're right. I know. Hey, and I hung around Steve. I know things happen when I was around Steve.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely. And I know he'd be up for it. Well, thank you again, Connie. We'll definitely get you on here again. Check out her Blue Rock Talk on YouTube. Check her out on Coast to Coast AM. You can become a Coast Insider, which I need to get back on doing again. Next week, I have Tracy. I know I'm going to butcher this. Sorry, Tracy, because you haven't told me how you pronounce your name. Tracy Suex, I think is her name. She is a spiritual coach and mentor, and we're going to talk about a lot of her ideas and stuff. Probably going to be a lot of stuff on Radionics similar to that, because I think a lot of her stuff's on focusing on that kind of stuff. But she'll be next, the 31st, next Sunday, 10 p.m. to midnight, same bat chime, same bat channel. Thank you guys again. Thank you, Todd. Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, everybody who joined us in the chat room tonight. I will see you next Sunday, 10 p.m. to midnight. Have a great night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. Am I dead or am I still alive?
You're good to go.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Connie. Have a great night.
Hey, Jason.
Yeah.
If somebody does, really does want a wishing machine, let me know. I'll let you know I can contact you guys.
Yeah, definitely send me that message, because that's something I'm totally interested in.
Okay. And thanks. I appreciate that. That was fun. And once you put it up, I'll put it up at Blue Rock at one point.
All right. Thank you, Connie.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, have a good night.
You too. Good night. Bye-bye.
Again, thank you to everybody who came out to watch the show tonight. The show's always going to try to remain positive. We're always going to be informative as much as I can. I'm going to keep trying to get really good guests for you guys to learn something new. I always learn something on my shows because I sure as heck don't know it all. Thank you guys again. I couldn't do the show without your guys' support and watching it. We talked about financial support. You know what? I got my setup. I'm good. One day, maybe I might ask for donations. Maybe we'll see. I don't know. But your support coming to watch the show and being in the chat room is great. You are the best chat room out there, I think, in the world. Thank you so much, guys. Have a great night. Next Sunday, 10 p.m. to midnight with Tracy Suex. I know I'm probably butchering it. We'll see you then, guys. Have a great weekend.
Yeah.